Hello there, and welcome, where thanks to the fine people who support this channel on Patreon, people like Sam Fritz and Mario Mora, I have the undeniable pleasure of talking about one of my personal favorite movies of 2019, a movie that shares an awful lot in common with a fine Kentucky bourbon, smooth, elegant, refined, and getting better and better with each successive sip. I'm of course talking about Knives Out, and if you're wondering why I, an Englishman, am speaking with such an accent, I recommend you don't think about it too much and instead just roll with it on this occasion.
It makes no damn sense. Compels me, though.
Wow, what was that all about? Yes, today we're going to be looking at Knives Out, the 2019 whodunit from writer-director Rian Johnson, a person whose work I'm actually quite nervous about reviewing. And that's not because I overwhelmingly dislike his films, or he himself, or anything like that. I mean, he comes across incredibly charming, thoughtful, and absolutely passionate about making movies full to the brim with richness. I just feel like there's a whole section of film fans on the internet that seem to treat his work with this absolutism that I'm not entirely behind. I just think it's time that we all agree that Star Wars: Last Jedi is a cinematic masterpiece, unrivaled in the history of filmmaking. I don't know, there were parts of it that I wasn't really keen on, to be honest. I think it's time we just all agree that Star Wars: Last Jedi is an abomination of cinema and we should destroy every copy known to man. Well, I wouldn't exactly go that far. I quite liked parts of it. But fortunately for me and the comment section of this video, this is not a take on Johnson's Star Wars film, but rather his follow-up to that, and a film that I was so super excited for building up to its initial release. A pitch-perfect whodunit, you say? Well, excuse me while I quaff my hair, dig out my finest tan raincoat, and cycle over to the nearest cinema right away, my good poster. The plot of Knives Out centers around the Thrombys, an affluent family who have come together to celebrate the birthday of Harlan, played by Christopher Plummer. The morning after the party, Harlan is found dead by his housekeeper with his throat cut, and so, of course, the police investigate and they're ready to declare suicide, but unconvinced by this verdict is a mysterious private detective hired to investigate the case. Benoit Blanc, played by Daniel Craig. The bulk of the film concerns the investigation of Blanc and the police into the matter, and particularly the role of Marta Cabrera, played by Ana de Armas, who is really the main protagonist of the film despite Craig's star, billing, and central role in all the marketing. And his central role in the marketing makes sense, of course, considering that he is our lead sleuth, and this whole thing is clearly a throwback to Agatha Christie, Poirot, and Miss Marple, and those classic murder mystery TV shows like Columbo and Murder, She Wrote, all things that I love. The film is well aware of its own influences too and pays homage to them, and I was actually really kind of thrilled at the prospect of just seeing a good, fun, proper, original murder mystery on the big screen. Knives Out is definitely not a murder mystery spoof either. It takes its mystery very seriously, and while most of the characters are larger than life and the tone can be quite irreverent and comedic in places, it's never at the expense of the seriousness of the central mystery, and such tonal juggling from moment to moment in places is beyond impressive, actually. I'm laughing along with the gags and also still really intrigued to find out exactly what happened as the plot details are revealed. The cast is absolutely terrific, and I was really interested hearing some of the behind-the-scenes stories on this regarding like how they could assemble such an impressive bunch of people. Basically, Craig was the first actor cast after Danny Boyle pulled out of Bond 25 and it delayed that production, and thus Johnson and his team sought out Craig for the lead role here.
I wanted to go to Toronto and sell the movie, and we basically were like 8 weeks away from shooting the movie. And then I read there was a push on the Daniel Craig James Bond movie because Danny Boyle dropped out. So I reached out to our agent, who's also Daniel's agent, and Ryan was like, it would be amazing if we can get Daniel. So 3 days later, Ryan is on vacation. He thinks his last vacation in Turks and Caicos with his wife. Gets a phone call from me, fly to New York right now, leave your vacation, go sit with Daniel. And basically, so he goes, he meets him, and, Daniel is in.
So it's not entirely inconceivable to think that out there somewhere there is a dimension where we got a Bond 25 directed by Danny Boyle and a Knives Out starring someone other than Daniel Craig, perhaps someone actually from a southern United States. Obviously, this is a Bond channel, and I know that I'm running the risk of making myself very unpopular for saying this, but if losing the Danny Boyle Bond film meant that we got a Craig starring Knives Out, then I'm totally fine with that, actually. I think that the accent is a lot of fun, and Craig plays this character with such a good time energy. I just love seeing him in this film. Craig is actually a really good comedic actor with a terrific sense of timing, and he brings so much colour to the part that really works. I know some people do focus on the accent in a negative light, and yes, it can be a little jarring at first, particularly as Benoit Blanc has There's no reason why he can't just be English, but the character was conceived the way he was, as this kind of like southern figure, and then Craig was cast, and for what it's worth, I just think it's a fun element, and being the massive Bond geek that I am, it actually helps me lose Craig in this part, whereas if he'd have kept his regular accent, I might have kept thinking about James Bond in some places. Like I say, he's very much the headline star, but Ana de Armas is the emotional heart of the film and the protagonist that we're supposed to empathize with throughout, but even that really works on its own terms. A lesser writer would have tried to crowbar in some ham-fisted backstory for Blanc, kind of like what they did with Poirot in the recent Murder on the Orient Express film. The expectation is obviously that the lead character should have some sort of emotional or character journey embedded into the film, but I appreciate the confidence with which Johnson allows this character to exist in this film without such devices. I definitely didn't need intercuts to Blanc wallowing over a deceased family member or a circumstance bearing tenuous thematic relevance to the main body of the film. The character excels by being a terrific sleuth, and obviously this means the part requires someone who has the ability to deliver a ton of exposition and workings out, and Craig does just that with a great sense of fun. I absolutely love this man in this part. But Ana de Armas' Marta Cabrera is the real protagonist of the film, and the one that we, the audience, are supposed to sympathize with and go on a journey with. Obviously this film is notable as a film starring two of the cast members of No Time to Die as a result of her casting here, but it could have originally starred even more Bond alumni. On the commentary track, Johnson talks about how the M. Emmett Walsh part was originally intended for Ricky Jay, who appeared in Tomorrow Never Dies, of course, and an image of Jay appears in the final film too, but he sadly passed away before being in the film. If he had appeared though, this scene would have been notable for starring a past, present, and future Bond cast member. Anyway, sorry, I keep going off on Bond-related tangents. I can't say that I've seen de Armas in anything else prior to this, but wow, she has the most complex and demanding role of the entire film and completely knocks out of the park. But then, this is a pretty perfect cast by my reckoning. It's a cast of terrific actors assembled quite late in the game too, by the sounds of it.
Now, there's perception around town that when you want to go cast the movie, you should cast it months and months before. I always believe in the reverse. If you're gonna go cast a movie, go cast it when you have 6 weeks, when you have 3 weeks, whatever, because most actors, if they don't have a job, and you come to them 2 or 3 weeks before, and if they like the script, the filmmaker, the cast, they're gonna say yes.
It helped being able to say to actors, we start shooting in a few weeks, can you come down to Boston now? As opposed to, if we were shooting sometime next year, maybe they try and keep their schedules open in case a Marvel movie or something comes up. With this, it was like, well, no, I'm not working right now, I'll come down and do that, that sounds like fun.
So I guess maybe we have fortune more than anything else to thank for this assembly, but wow, I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, Michael Shannon, Don Johnson, Toni Collette, Chris Evans, Frank Coles, and Christopher Plummer are all actors that I love here and know well from many other roles, but even the actors that I didn't know very well prior to seeing this film, like de Armas, like Lakeith Stanfield, Catherine Langford, Jaden Martell, Eddie Patterson, Kay Callan, everyone excels with what they have to do, and some of my favourite scenes in this are when the family are all together and just bickering. If I were to pick an absolute favourite from the bunch, well, I'm a big Halloween movie fan, as well as many other parts that Jamie Lee Curtis has played, and she's just an absolute standout here for me. I love the detail, though, in how each member of the family has their own individual way of reacting to hearing the same news in a few places, and they all have such different tacts. For a movie with so many characters, it's impressive that everyone comes across so full of life, and everyone has a moment or two to really shine. Plot-wise, the thing moves along at a terrific pace. Personally, I think it's bad form for reviewers to reveal the intricate plot details of a murder mystery, so I will forego illuminating such facts in this video. But suffice it to say that I think this plot is tight and intricately woven and holds up very well even on repeat viewings. I will say that when I first saw the film, I was ever so slightly disappointed with some of the reveals at the end. I guess because this thing had just been so built up for me, and maybe just me in my own mind as well, that I was expecting some kind of big genre subversion, and it's kind of not that. It's all very much a... well, it is typical whodunit mystery stuff, but I don't want the word typical to seem like I'm dogging on the film at all, because I'm really not. But there are times where, you know, I've talked about this film a lot to other people, and every now and then I meet people who are kind of under the apprehension that the film was kind of breaking down boundaries of mystery storytelling, and I'm like, have you seen literally any episode of Columbo? Because if you had, I don't think you'd have that opinion. And again, I'm not dogging on this film's plot at all. There are unexpected twists, and it's such an impressively constructed mystery, but I've literally seen hundreds of episodes of Murder, She Wrote at this point, so there are obviously tropes and things that inevitably repeat themselves over the years, but Knives Out has such a unique style and vibe that the fact that it's just doing a really great original mystery story in itself is something to be celebrated. I feel like we don't get this kind of film all that much anymore, and maybe it's because execs just feel like anyone can immediately tweet out the big reveals and then the whole thing's ruined, but I want more Knives Out and less of just doing the same Agatha Christie stories over and over again, which I feel is all murder mystery fans have to really look forward to on the big screen these days.
And don't get me wrong, I saw Kenneth Branagh's Murder on the Orient Express and I liked it very much. Dare say I even think it improved on aspects of previous adaptations. But if you're a fan of mysteries like myself, there is only so much merit in going back and readapting the same source material time and time again.
I don't know if Christie has just turned into like something like Shakespeare, where there's just always going to be someone doing their own spin on Hamlet or the classic work or whatever, and we just go and see it again and again because it's more about the execution than anything else. But whatever, the fact that I could sit in a cinema with an engaged audience and experience a brand spanking new contemporary, well-made and performed murder mystery and just go along for the ride was something really quite special and unexpected. Yes, we have countless mystery police shows out there where they're investigating murders and whatnot, but this is different. This is proper drawing room murder mystery stuff, and with such good humor as well. Knives Out is so much fun, and I can't recommend it highly enough to anyone who hasn't seen it. If you can rent it or grab the Blu-ray, then do, and don't go looking for plot details beforehand. While the film holds up incredibly well to repeat viewings, it's a whole different and very unique experience to see it fresh for the first time.
Yes, sir. Knives Out leaves me grinning like a possum eating a sweet tater every time. Now let me tell you...
Excuse me, who are you, and what the hell do you think you're doing in my flat?
Poor son doesn't know whether to check his ass or scratch his watch. Don't you worry, boy, I'm just passing through. So long.
And what the hell kind of accent even is that, anyway? Please do go below and let me know your thoughts on Knives Out in the comment section below. Also below you can find links to my other social media pages, including my Twitter page, my Facebook page, and my Patreon page. If you want to be like Sam Fritz and Mario Mora and support this channel and have a say in deciding which non-Bond movie reviews I look at, as well as having access to some exclusive videos, and just general have a bit of a chit-chat, then please do head over to my Patreon page for more details there. And until next time, Bond fans, so long for now.